You know, I never thought I'd see the day. President Obama putting entitlements on the chopping block, at least Social Security, and in truth, far from the chopping block. But at least he did it. The president's offer to revise the inflation formula used to peg Social Security benefit increases is a start, and I think an important one. And judging of the outcry from liberals and unions that he's all but killing Granny, it's probably a very significant start. So why did John Boehner call it little more than a stunt? And a stunt apparently dead on arrival with Republicans. And these are the same Republicans who've been demanding this exact sort of thing for years. Well, to hear the speaker tell it, it's because the president's still attaching more tax increases to it. But it doesn't quite add up when you figure those tax hikes were really about closing tax loopholes and special credits that allowed many to escape the tax man altogether. So why the fuss now? And did Republicans do to the president on Social Security what they hated the president doing to Paul Ryan on Medicare, dismissing him for even trying? Time to get debating with Christian Dorsey, Peter Suderman, and Scottie Nell Hughes. Scottie, to you first. What do you think?
Oh, well, it's quite obvious. I agree with Boehner, and that's kind of rare for me to say, in all honesty. But he's right. These are very moderate cuts, and all that Obama is doing is trying to do a PR stunt to once again try to divide the Republicans, encourage those moderate senators to come along, look at his plan, when in reality, all it's going to do is raise more taxes after we just saw $100 billion worth of taxes raised, and not give enough cuts to the entitlements that we need to happen in this country.
Well, Peter, I look at it, and I agree with ostensibly a lot of what you said. There are more tax hikes in there. He could have gone further on entitlements. But the fact of the matter is, he moved on something that so enraged the left that they're saying this is all but killing Granny, and this is a significant slap in the face. So they're pissed. I'm just surprised Republicans aren't, at least saying, all right, we've got the start of something here.
One of the things that's interesting about this debate is that if you look at Obama's entitlement reforms, the administration is really pushing the idea that they're stepping out with a big, bold new compromise. But we've seen all of these entitlement reforms proposed before. I think a lot of what's in the budget is a good, small start, but it's a really small start. There's some Medicare cuts.
We have to start somewhere, right, Peter? We have to start somewhere.
But we've seen these things before. And so, if you liked Obama's budgets previously, you'll like it this time. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing from Boehner is they never liked Obama's budget before. They still don't.
Yeah, there could be some truth to that. But, Christian, what I'm seeing here is that every time someone on the left or right dithers with trying to address, let's say, a third rail issue, be it Medicare for Paul Ryan, even in the slightest way, Social Security with this president, they hear it on the other side. And,
That's right.
And I think it forces people who are going to risk hitting that third rail to avoid doing it in the future.
Well, that's why I think to discount what the president's done as being insignificant, small, or rehashed policy really undersells what's going on here. The reason the left is upset is because you have a Democratic president putting out on the table, when not being forced to do so, cutting Social Security benefits, when most on the left think that Social Security benefits ought to be enhanced for low-income folks. So to dismiss this as trivial completely is tone deaf to political reality and economic reality for seniors. This is a huge thing, and that this can't force folks to come to the table to discuss is really an outrage for folks who purport to be about deficit reduction in our country's long-term fiscal health.
Now, Scottie, I know and understand quite clearly what you're saying. I mean, Republicans feel they already gave at the store on these tax hikes. They're certainly not going to go again. I think what the president's talking about is closing loopholes, special breaks, allowances, something that Mitt Romney supported, Paul Ryan had supported. I think you could quite correctly argue, as I think you did, that that was before all these rates went up. So they've given. But we have to get something done, right? Isn't the president moving on an entitlement a step in that direction? And isn't it worth more than just saying, no, 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 no?
Well, normally I'd be excited that the liberal left and liberal media is very angry at the president. But let's face it, the real reason why they're angry is because he actually said the word cuts. Doesn't matter if he's talking about getting his hair cut or cutting entitlements. He actually said the word cuts. And what
so, Scottie, be a Republican thinking they're pissed off and annoyed, right?
They're very
annoyed. Then that should
annoyed.
be reason enough for me to say, we'll talk.
Well, here's my question. Why should we trust President Obama? Let's look at what just happened just last week, blaming the Republicans for not treating cancer patients because the Republicans didn't vote through the sequester.
Your antipathy toward the president. I know Democrats' antipathy toward the Republicans. Well-chronicled hatred on both sides. But we have to do something. Right?
I agree. You're completely right, Neil, and I wish that the president would actually watch your show more, because then he would realize.
Oh, he does. He does.
Oh, we know he does, and
I'm
that's
watching
obvious.
you watching me, Mr. President. Peter, what do you think? Where is this all going to go?
Well, I think the Republicans do have a problem, which is that they don't know what they really stand for, except that they don't like President Obama. That is an issue. On the other hand, I don't think that President Obama's proposals go nearly far enough. And so I think that for now, we're still going to be in an impasse.
You have to crawl before you can walk and walk before you can run, right?
It'd be nice to see Republicans lay out what they would really like to do with Social Security. If you remember, Paul Ryan's budget basically didn't do anything about it at all.
You're absolutely right. And Chris, what I hope something like this emboldens is more Republicans entertaining defense cuts, or at least paring the growth of defense, to put their own sacred cows on the table, each side, and a lot more than each side has done up to now. That's what worries me, that I don't see that being done.
I don't see it being done either. I mean, the Medicare stuff, Republicans have done a little bit more on, but on Social Security, they've basically been silent.
But Christian, do you think that that stagnates this whole process?
Well, it really does, and it really calls into question what is this whole process designed to do. If you are in a true negotiation and you give something that you're not interested in giving, and that does not compel the other side to at least have a conversation with you, you've really got to question fundamentally what are the goals and objectives here. And I think that's where I'm starting to question the good faith coming from Speaker Boehner. Really, what is it that you're intending if you will not at least have conversations based on what is a huge concession to what many people in Obama's party believe ought to be the right policy?
But here's the problem. Those are moderate concessions. That's what we have to realize.
You're absolutely right. By the way, you're all right. You're all right on what you're saying.
10 years down the road.
You have to
cutting Social Security benefits is not modest for people who are making around.
By raising the taxes on people that have already had the taxes cut, have already raised their taxes. That's the issue. Take care of things today, not 10 years down the road.
No one's cutting anything. And in this case, this new inflation formula would repeg the growth or the increase that you're getting. But having said that, I think you're all right enough to say, you know, trust but verify. But I don't see enough trust, but let's move to the next step. That's what worries me. But we'll see. We'll see.
And if this was compromised, he would have presented to Boehner saying, you know what, this is kind of like a la carte, take your pick. He didn't. He said it's this or nothing. And that's how he presented it to Boehner.
Well,
that's how we know there's not
he
compromise.
Didn't say that.
That's what a bargain is about.
But he didn't say this or nothing.
Well, he said it's not a la carte. You can't pick and choose.
Oh.
You get this plan or not.
Well, of course he wouldn't. That's absurd. Why in the world would he do that?
But I thought you said we were bargaining. We were compromising.
I take the salad out and I add the potatoes. Is that the same? No, I guess I digress. Guys, thank you very, very much.